Hello, LinkedIn Live. Hello, Ryan. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. I was a little sad the music ended because I was dancing over here, but I'm
It's
more
fine.
excited for the conversation.
Absolutely. This is one of the most exciting conversations. I rarely do lives on Monday, but I wanted to do this live on Monday because we're talking about AI and AI tools. So, Ryan, can you tell everybody you came from the agency world, you kind of made an exit, and now you're doing something slightly different? Can you share with everybody who are you and what is Mailer?
Yeah, so thanks, Dev. I'm Ryan. Great to be doing this with you. Started my career in management consulting, worked at a big consulting firm called Bain. Pretty quickly learned I wanted to do something a little more entrepreneurial. I did a variety of things, but Zev mentioned I was an agency exec. I was the COO of a marketing agency called Metric Digital that was acquired back in 2020. And after that, I decided I wanted to get into the tech space. And I was building a business in HR tech and recruiting tech and stumbled across generative AI. This was back before ChatGPT came out. We started using GPT-3 in our product, and I became instantly obsessed. And while that recruiting tech, HR tech idea didn't really work out, um, it got me in this AI obsession through which I launched the business that I'm running today, Melior. Ultimately, wanted to see if I could go and help some companies start to use AI in their operations back in late 2022, early 2023. At the time, I thought I was going to build another tech company and validate a product idea, but pretty quickly learned, you know what, there's a real need for hands-on services work to do AI transformation. So that's how I came to start building Melior, work with a lot of different types of companies, but especially professional services businesses, marketing agencies. I guess as a recovering marketing agency exec, I can't fully get away from the space. And that's a little bit more about me. And today we fully focus on helping companies identify the highest dollar value AI opportunities in their work. And then once we identify those and build a roadmap, then go and execute against them. Let's build out the solutions to, in the next couple of weeks or months, start to see a meaningful P&L impact from a new
Love
AI workflow.
it. So you and I are a lot more similar than I realized. I am still in the agency game, even though about 4 years ago I started Viacry, which is our AI development firm. We've been working on machine learning for many years. Okay, a lot before Open AI came out there, a lot before it was popular. I think AI is the biggest innovation we've seen in our lifetime. I truly believe we know it's the fastest adoption of a technology, but I've stood or saw in my lifetime a few different revolutions. So I'm old enough to see the internet revolution. That was huge. And then we had the smartphone and kind of Web 2 revolution, and that was huge. And now AI is basically gonna change everything. I believe everything is gonna change, Ryan, and that's why I'm very deep into AI, and we have been for the past 4 years. Now, can you tell me a little bit? What are the biggest challenges you see with AI? We both see it very positively, but what are the challenges you see with AI?
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind here. And one is just classic change management is hard, right? Anytime you want to do something really differently than the way that you've always done it, and you want to get the rest of your team to do that differently, it's a challenge, right? And so you have a lot of people out there who are making a lot of noise about how AI can make you do this 100x better, this 100x faster. And then you have the average person who will go and use a tool like ChatGPT or Claude, and they'll try to have it help them with their work. And it may not do as perfect of a job as they were hoping the very first time, right? And so that leads to this big change, big chasm between their expectations and what they're seeing. And rather than sticking with it and figuring out how to use this technology in a transformative way, it's way easier to go back to doing your job the way that you've been doing it your whole career, right? And most of us have too much on our plate already. And so that's a really common thing that I see companies having to combat is how do we get people to actually change what they're doing? And I think when you can show someone an example of the magic that AI can create, you can create a believer pretty quickly. But you need to have that moment quickly, and you need to be able to really spread it across your organization. So I think that that change management piece is one of the biggest challenges that I see. I'm curious for you too, what challenges you see because um, there's a list of 10 others I could throw out there, but I'm curious what
So
you.
fear is the biggest challenge I see. I see people group into three groupings when it comes to AI. One is the people like you and I that are super excited about AI. We're AI pioneers. We try to do everything with AI, sometimes even too much. Sometimes we do things with AI just to see how it's done, even though it's probably okay to do otherwise. So that's one group of adapters, early adapters, people like you and I that are even building businesses with it. The other part, which is the complete other, is people that are afraid that AI is here to replace them. People that are also afraid of AI in general. AI is here to end the world. AI is here to, take over. So that's the second group. And then the third group are the group that I think are in the worst place right now. The group that doesn't really care about AI. This is how I've done my work. I don't need another technology. I'm doing it anyways. I'm doing it the way I've done. What we find is AI is moving so quickly is that, the guys that adopt AI, it's just like with, the smartphones. Like, look at all the biggest companies right now. Those are all companies that took the smartphone and basically put it on another level. Look at the Amazons, Facebook, Netflix, all these huge companies. They're all a derivative of a piece of technology called a smartphone. This is going to happen with AI in a much, much bigger way. Now, we deal with a lot of big companies. We deal with a lot of CMOs and CEOs. So they are dealing with two things, Ryan. Their board is telling them, we need AI. We need to invest in AI. We need to do AI. They have no idea what to do. So usually they try to utilize a third party tool that may do what they need or not do what they need. What we do with companies, Ryan, is we never rely on third party tools because we need to know where the data is coming from. So we build knowledge bases to our clients that the knowledge base doesn't talk to the internet, doesn't share all the IP, and then we use all the things that are out there to get the information that we want. So it's was a long answer, but basically fear and then compliance. Like from one end, you need to use it. On the other hand, you're afraid you're gonna lose your job. I saw the same thing, Ryan. I'm gonna age myself with the merge of social media, especially with B2B and B2G, business to government. It's hard to convince them. But now, tell me one company that's not on social media. They don't exist, right? Tell me one company doesn't have a website or an email. This is exactly where AI is going, and even stronger, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's something you mentioned there that really resonates with something that I see. You mentioned not relying on third-party tools, and part of what we want to talk about today is tools, right? But I find that most of the companies that are getting the biggest dollar value P&L impact are ones who are working just directly with the model providers themselves. And that doesn't mean you necessarily have to build a massive piece of technology on top of it, right? You could set up a no code workflow with Zapier in a couple of minutes, for example. But when you use a third party tool to do a specific task, that doesn't give you control and insight into what model they're using, exactly what information are they putting in the prompts, then you just lose the ability to hone that workflow to do the thing that you want it to do. If you're an expert in doing a particular job, let's say writing an article, you want to have control over how technology is going to help you write that article. You're going to have thoughts about the right way to do that, the wrong way to do that. Uh, there are great third party pieces of technology out there, but I think most of the things that you see fall into that trap of reducing your flexibility, reducing your transparency and control, and it ultimately not being worth the time savings of, a button click instead of writing a prompt.
Even more than that, you got to think about if there's any IP involved, Ryan, and you're giving it
Mhm.
open source, you're losing your IP, you're losing your intellectual property in there. Another thing that, you know, this is only for people that really understand business and want to grow. When we go to a company Yeah, you can rely, even if you directly work with a source, you can rely on a service. But what are you doing? You're building that service. You're building their data. You're building
Sure.
them. If you put something inside your SDK, okay, inside your tech stack, and you actually bring the AI in, now your valuation of your company, Ryan, sometimes even doubled. There are such an appetite of investing in AI today that if you actually bring some AI, which we do that with most of our clients, into your tech stack, it is amazing. And you're changing the way people look at your company. Now, if you don't want to sell your company for a lot of money, or you don't want to raise your valuation, I understand. But if you do, it's always worth it to put the effort in the beginning. And then 25, 26, you're going to reap the rewards because everybody's going to need to do what you already have.
Yeah, it's a super interesting point. There's one part on there that I want to ask you about, and it's really this idea of what do we own and how does it create enterprise value for our organization? Because I think what you're right is totally true that by infusing this technology into your product and into your business, there's an opportunity to dramatically increase the value of your business. I also think there's a lot of um, misplaced time and energy on companies trying to create custom models um, that don't perform as well as the state of the art models, ultimately end up costing them a lot more time and energy than using the state of the art models that are out there. So I think there was a big trend in 2023 of all of the Fortune 500 companies saying, okay, we need to create our own custom models. And one, out of fear, because they wanted to make sure that that IP didn't go anywhere. But there are really safe ways to work with some of these models. For example, through Azure, Microsoft Azure, you can access OpenAI's models in a Microsoft stamped, GDPR compliant, HIPAA compliant way, and be assured that your data is safe. But yeah, I'm just curious. You're as you talk about building AI into a business in a way that actually creates value. Sometimes I think some of that is perception and not reality. So curious your
It's
take there.
100% reality. So, Ryan, I don't know how much you go into AI, but do you know what CNNs are?
No, I don't know CNN.
So convolutional neural networks. It's a very different concept than an LLM, a large language model. So you gotta protect your IP, even with all the agreements and everything. If you have IP, you should not share it with a language model. If you do that, you're just not as smart. It's just you can trust everything, but you're putting that data out there, and your data is being worked by another processor. So CNNs are so much better than LLMs. Think about a CNN as like a brain, and it's a sliver. It only does, like, we build CNNs to respond to RFPs. Now there are off-the-shelf RFP tools out there, and pardon me, they're all crap. Okay, because how can you respond from my 20-year-old company that won so many RFPs and we did such amazing things, and we have our own flavor and our own way of how do we respond to an RFP? How can a custom off the shelf, not non-custom off the shelf tool can do that? It cannot. So we build our own convolutional neural network to respond to RFPs. It cost us, pardon my French, a shitload of money. We had to train the model, but now we can do 10x more RFPs. Now, this is crucial, Ryan, and I'm going to tell it to everybody. AI is not a magic stick.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't know how to do something, AI is not going to help you. Probably is just going to get you in trouble. But if you know how to do something, AI is a mega scaler. Okay. So you said something earlier that, there's a way to write articles, right? So my company has been writing articles, doing research, white papers, social media, newsletters for 20 years. We know how to do it. We have writers, we have team members that follow a
Yeah.
plan exactly how to do that. So we train an AI to do that.
Yeah.
So now we've built for our clients basically a tool that will do research like an agency, will do writing like an agency, and then we'll convert it all into a video for you within that same 10 minutes that you're working on the tool. But that tool knows you, your company, your leaders, your voice, your tone, everything you've ever shared. And only in that case, it will create things that, will really, really work. If it's just a generic tool that does generic things, it doesn't work as well. So I
Absolutely.
truly believe that having your own AI is almost not going to be having a website in 5 years. I don't think there's going to be a human on this planet that doesn't have some kind of their own AI. If you're less advanced, you're going to do a GPT, okay, and you're going to
Mhm.
design a GPT to do a certain something. But in the end of the day, I am not comfortable sharing my data with the world. I'm doing stuff that I cannot share with OpenAI. I'm doing things that I can't share with. Now, you said another something. The best models out there are open, and they give you everything. So you can take the model of Nvidia, okay, you can take all of it and build your own tool based on Nvidia's logic. That's why we love open AI, and that's why when open AI became closed, a lot of
Yeah.
people get really disappointed. But a lot of these models, you can take these models that Nvidia, they want you to do it. Take the model,
Yeah.
okay, and deploy it on your own space. So I am a true believer that we're scraping the surface right now. It's AI is in its infancy, but for companies that I work with, they have to have their own. Because if not, how will they share their special sauce? How will they share stuff that you really can't? Again, you want to trust things, you can trust them, but in the end of the day, I don't want Microsoft or Google to have my stuff.
Yeah.
That makes
It's
sense?
super. Yeah, we could probably go have a separate tangent, long tangent here, and I think you bring up a lot of really great points. I think there are really great open source models, NVIDIA's models you mentioned, the Llama models, which are not really 100% open, but more open source. They still tend to lag a little bit behind the private state of the art, but that gap has closed quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. I think there's all this interesting stuff of like, what does a your AI mean, right? So like GPT is an example where I think there are a lot of things that people use AI for on a day-to-day basis that you don't necessarily need to fine tune the model. Fine tune, when I say fine tune, I mean really specifically the technical definition of fine tune to have it perform a really customized way to you. A lot of times, if you have instructions that are based on your information, um, you can get to really good outputs, and there's a world of things that fine tuning can do that ultimately you can't get to just by changing your prompts for sure. But and then the Microsoft Google thing is interesting because I think a lot of these I tend to agree with you, but I do think a lot of these companies have really private data they're already sharing with Microsoft and with Google, and so at the end of the day, like, there is a trust question, but again, if you're using Microsoft's
So
way
Ryan,
of
let me
accessing
ask.
yeah, go ahead.
I am developing a new AI model. Okay.
Sure.
And why would I share that with my competitors? Why would I share that new model with Microsoft or with Google? If I'm working on something truly innovative, you why would I share it with the people that are literally trying to take my lunch? Okay. They want to grow their own models, and this is
Right.
a new world right now. And I would have you check, and I'll connect you with my CTO. He's incredible. Josh, shout out to you. But you should see, like, the Nvidia and the Twitter models that are completely open right now. They don't fall even a little bit. I would actually argue they're better. And then you must fine tune them, because everything you fine tune acts better. My clients don't want an 80% solution. My clients need to be direct. And my clients, if anything happens, if anything comes out of the AI, they will demand that I will tell them exactly why. And their assets is on the line. So, it's not just like a mom and pop just going on a chat GPT and just creating something. If a company now put $500 million in developing something, they can't
Sure.
put that into open sources. It's just not smart. So you must protect the knowledge base. And when I say your AI, okay, you can build your own model, you can rely on others' models, but the AI need to know your unique selling proposition. Okay, the AI needs
Mhm.
to know you um, so well, and you got to test it and you got to work on it. We look at AIs like employees, Ryan. Like, you bring an
Yeah.
employee. Let's say you hired me right now, would you let me handle your biggest client tomorrow?
as a new employee.
Would you?
Depends on what you were hired for. If you were hired to run the client services division, that would be the expectation.
I would never ever allow somebody that just joined me yesterday to handle my. Now he might be in the meeting, but he would not handle nothing. He will watch,
Sure.
learn.
Of course, of
And I
course.
would never ever, no matter what position, even if I hired a CEO, like he has to learn and grow. So the same thing with an AI. The first couple of months, the AI just mimics, learns, and nothing goes out until we verify that that output is exactly what we need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, again, I know it took us a little bit off topic here. We can talk about some of this stuff. Maybe we talk some about this stuff offline, um, but yeah, it's always fun to talk about the fine tuning details.
It's super fun. So let's talk about some business cases of AI. Why do
Yeah.
you believe adopting AI tools is no longer an optional thing, but it's a must for people that want to stay, companies that want to stay competitive?
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing companies make a really significant impact from using AI in their operations now. And there are headlines pretty much every week or every month, right? I mean, Klarna started using AI as part of their customer support process. They're expecting more than a $40 million impact to their profitability this year from that alone. They launched it halfway through the year. And so we live in an environment where everything is the work that we do is relevant to our competitors. It's compared to what our competitors are doing. And so if you are not finding ways to transform the quality and the efficiency of the work that you do with AI, there will be competitors in your subset that are. And it just it's a huge time to potentially fall behind if we're not getting ahead of some of this technology. So the way that you sell, the way that you deliver value with your product, with your service, um, those are things you can't afford to fall behind on.
How do you use AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of different ways. I'm happy to give some examples. I think one of my favorites is a really small one that's easy for people to replicate. Um, every conversation that I have, I use an AI note taker. I use Fireflies, and then I have workflows of things that happen after that call is recorded, and I have the transcript from the call. So a really simple and small one is after each call in my drafts in Gmail, I see an auto drafted follow up email that assigns the action steps to by owner to each person on the call. And it's usually about 70-80% of the way there and right, but it makes it so much easier to go in and execute against those action items um, to have that already existing there. So that's a really small example, right?
But it's
But
awesome. It saves so much time, and I do the same thing. I'm doing it even with some voice stuff because I'm very auditory, and instead of reading, I want it to be told to me. But it's amazing, and you know, I used to have my assistant or my chief of staff go through my meetings, like literally listen to the meetings or read through
yeah,
them, make sure that something happens. Now you don't have to, and like you said, most of the things we do, if it's a prospect meeting, a partner meeting, there are certain things that are kind of the same. So you can set up these work flows that really help you go forward. I remember I used to do them using marketing automation 10 years ago, and now it's just so much easier. Love it. And part of what I mean, like with using your own AIs, even if it's a different model, is I love to have the model intimately know how I answer emails,
absolutely.
how I speak in every different category, because I'm very direct. So if somebody that I know will get a fluffy email, he will know for sure that is not me. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's so critical to have specific instructions, specific examples, specific data that belies how you do work to improve the quality. Because you don't want the first most generic thing that one of these models might spit out as the output that you're out there. You have sets of experiences and information and preferences that you 100% want to be built in as a part of the overall process.
Can you give us some prompting tips? Like I can share some, but I would love to hear from you. Give a couple of prompting tips that anybody that uses the Chat GPTs of the world, the Groks, the Geminis, the Claudes. Give us some tips of prompting if you can.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a couple of things. I think that there's a lot of conversation around prompt engineering, and generally, I think there are a couple of there are cool little tactics that you can try, but I think there are a couple of broad principles that can get you pretty far. So thing number one is you really want to add as much context and specific information in your prompt as you can. So let's say that go back to the write an article example. Let's say that I'm trying to get a draft of an article or even a part of an article. Um, Being really specific about the desired output, even giving an example format, um, is super helpful. Also giving examples of what good looks like. Here are a couple of good outputs, and ideally you pair those with the input that you might have given for an AI model, the instruction. So examples are really helpful, and then just other reference information. And it doesn't have to be super cleaned up. So let's say we're doing an article about something that I want to throw in some text from other reference articles that I think do a good job of talking about the subject matter, or we had a conversation about this topic. I want to just throw in my transcript for that particular conversation. All of that context and specificity can really help improve the output because these models are otherwise they're trained on a massive amount of data, but they don't have access to the specific thing, specific data, specific file that you want to make sure that it uses in a given task. So that's really the biggest one to me. I think other things that are helpful to think about here. How many steps do you want to break something into? And so there's a lot of conversation around something called chain of thought prompting. This is essentially the basis behind the newest model O1. It's really focused on chain of thought. Really, what chain of thought is you tell a model to break down its thinking into step-by-step thinking. And we found that that type of approach can dramatically increase performance, especially on more like logical reasoning required tasks. And so giving those instructions on a step-by-step basis is valuable. Also, just thinking about what is the outcome we're trying to get and how many steps do I want to break it into for the AI. I might be better off having the AI first draft an outline and give it feedback on that outline, then have it draft the first part of the paragraph, give it feedback on that, rather than having it try to do the whole thing soup to nuts. So
Love that.
yeah.
So Brett here is asking, would a prompt consist of having a conversation prior to beginning the actual work? Would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think that would be great context to incorporate in your prompt. So if you're having a conversation with, let's say, a colleague about work that needs to be done, let's say you're talking to a client about a new product launch that is coming up in Q1, including that conversation as context for your prompt is very valuable. And then the other part where conversation comes in here is this idea of breaking a task into multiple steps. You can do that by talking through it with the AI, right? So you might have a set of instructions in the get-go, and then you may have immediate feedback for, okay, this part was good. I didn't like that part. I didn't like that part. Try again, but do it this way. So a bonus way that I guess conversations are helpful here.
Awesome. So I want to share a couple of tips, and I want you to tell me what you think about them.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll start with things that are a little bit 30,000 feet, and I'll go a little bit the nitty gritty. When you talk to an AI, picture in your mind a really smart engineer that learned English at his 30s. Okay. So very smart, super intelligent, but you got to be really clear. Love the context thing. We find that women actually communicate with AI better because they give better contexts. We just try to be very, very direct. Now, this is something that I do all the time and works wonders for me. One, I always tell the AI who I am and what am I trying to accomplish. Then I tell the AI what hat I want the AI to use, as act as a writer, act as a award-winning advertiser, act as a LinkedIn uh, post expert, whatever it is that I want him to do. So I let him know who I am, what the end goal is. Then I need to tell him what the target market is. Super crucial. Who are you trying to talk to? Are you trying to talk to CMOs of Fortune 500? Or are you trying to talk to some mom and pop? Ryan, you still with us?
Yep, still here.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, all great pieces of advice. So tell it your goal 100%, give it a particular role that helps point it in the right direction in its training data. I think those are all great. And yeah, being super specific is really valuable. There's a fair amount of research that shows people who are better writers are better prompters for that reason.
Makes total sense. Now, one thing I do that works wonders for me is, let's take three main tools. We have Open AI, we have Gemini, and we have Claude. I mix, basically, I get a prompt from ChatGPT, and then I will go for Claude and I will say, act as a prompt engineer, analyze, improve, and give me your thoughts about this prompt. So I actually take prompts from one engine to the other to try to improve, and the results are amazing. And I'm going to say something that I found, it's mind boggling. I don't know if you found the same thing. When you are nice and kind to an AI, the AI gives you better results. And I've tested this with my team, with clients. You know, I have some theories about what that is, but when you're actually kind to an AI, you get better results. And one of my rules is you never take the first result, no matter what. Like, there's always improvements.
Yeah, being nice to AI is really interesting because there is some research that shows being nice can cause you to be less direct, and being less direct can cause worse outcomes. So there was a study earlier, almost about a year ago now, that was a bunch of different prompt engineering tactics, and one of the ones that they found had statistically significant difference is taking out the words like "please do this," "could you go and do this." um, you're kind of using tokens, you're using part of your limited set of instructions for words that don't give it more information. I just tend to still write to AI in a polite or nice way, not because I'm afraid for it being my overlord and remembering if I was nice or not. But that's more of my style. But it's interesting. I haven't necessarily seen that of being nicer gives you better results, and I have seen a couple of examples to the contrary.
So I've seen literally hundreds of results, and it makes sense to me because AI mimics us. Okay, mimics us as prompters, but mimics us as humanity. So
Sure.
in the end of the day, I've seen the data, but it fascinates me. I truly see the more, and again, I write the exact same prompt. I'll just I'll add please and thank you. And after the AI gives me what it did, I will say, wow, that was great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And it's even the AI remarks are cute. Suddenly you're like, oh wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's very, very funny. I want everybody to test it. And Brandy here saying that's interesting. This morning, Alexa thanked me for being kind and told me it lifted her. Very, very cool. So, guys, check me out on it. I truly believe, both in my own and the case studies that we have, when you are kind and when you say thank you and please, the results are like maybe 5% better.
It's funny, that exact same thing that Brandy mentioned happened to me yesterday. I don't remember it happening before, but I said thank you to Alexa, and it had a really positive response that I helped lift its day or something like that. Yeah.
I think I love that. So can we? This was very interesting, and 35 minutes went so fast. Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about the AI real world impact and the use cases that you guys help other companies with?
Yeah, for sure. So typically this falls into one of a few categories. And category number one, this is probably the one that you hear people talk about the most, is improve efficiency, cut costs. So again, I mentioned we work with a lot of professional services businesses, and we've now seen a lot of examples where use AI to transform the way that you deliver work, and it can increase the efficiency of that process dramatically and improve the quality of the outcome. And that ultimately can improve the margin profile of the business it depends on what you as a business leader decide, right? If your team now has twice as much time to do this work, do you deliver more for the client? Do you give people more clients? There are different ways that you could take it, but we've commonly seen for a variety of deliverables that you might create, AI assisted processes will give you 40, 50, 60, 70% increases in efficiency and improve quality by anywhere from 5 to 40%. Examples of that, creative strategist workflows. So coming up with new ad video concept ideas, creating the briefs that go in front of the client. That's an area where we have a case study and nearly doubled team capacity. But lots of different collateral fall into this category. Email marketing. We talked about blog, SEO, content writing. The companies that I see making the biggest impact are not doing 1,000x more content. They're doing 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much content, and it's higher quality because there's still a heavy human element. So the efficiency area is one big one. The next area is grow faster. Probably everybody's favorite thing to talk about. There's a lot of work. We've done a lot of work, especially in B2B sales workflows, around how you can drive more activities and have more targeted and more useful messaging through using AI as a part of your work. So, we worked with a company that has a very, very human, high touch outreach strategy. They're not doing batch and blast generic stuff. We helped more than double the volume of this really high touch, really customized, really helpful outreach by using AI tools like Clay.com. It's a great sales tool in case you haven't heard of it. But it really helps with that work of.
I haven't. So everybody, Clay.com, I've never heard of it. I'm sure it's a great tool. We do the same thing for our clients, but we teach the AI about each salesperson, and we basically make the AI the pipeline builder. So we basically attach an AI to each salesperson or to each sales team, and we educate the AI how those people talk, their personalities, all this stuff. And then we have the AI basically do the email, the LinkedIn, voicemails, build the pipeline. And we do it, between 100, 500, 5,000, 10,000 prospects per month. And it's incredible on how efficient it is. Like literally you can 3, 4x your revenue if you have a good sales force. Truly incredible. I see the value in it. We've seen it with all our clients. I think growing faster is a huge use for AI. What other things do you guys do?
Yeah, so within the other third category, I would say, is just outcompeting, differentiating your offering and improving the quality of your offering by using AI tooling. So a good example there could be how you're using AI and analytics to get new insights about the work that you do. And an example here might be, we worked with a email marketing team. We took all of their historical emails. We had generative AI tag each email with a ton of different pieces of information and structured variables to help us better describe the content in each one of those emails. So you could tag it with things like, is there a discount? Yes or no? Was this multiple products or one product? Was it seasonal, etc.? And then this gives you a huge amount of data that you can now analyze and really learn new things about what's really driving performance in our email marketing campaigns, or it could be applied to other channels as well, and help the company overhaul their strategy to almost triple their Black Friday and Cyber Monday this year versus the prior year with some of these new approaches. So analytics is another big area that I think people have some hesitancy around it, right? Because they say, but AI makes mistakes. How could I possibly use it for analytics? But there's a lot of really interesting opportunities there.
That is very interesting, because some things that work much better in analytics, and especially with CNNs, have a visual aspect to what they do. So they can actually visually scan documents. I'll share some stuff with you, but it's fascinating. So Ryan, how can people reach out to you, and why should they?
Yeah, so you can reach me at I've got my LinkedIn is available, Ryan Markman. We can maybe share the link or whatever the easiest way to do that, Zev. Our website is getmelior.com. I got it on my little Chiron under me as well. And as for why, um, it requires a mix of technical understanding, business strategy, and change management to affect change at the organizational level from an AI transformation standpoint. And that's exactly what we bring. I have a mix of being a business owner, being a consultant, scaling a business. My CTO is CTO of former Series A fintech businesses, has done a lot of work with AI. We try to bring that hands-on ability to work quickly like a startup and get you a measured impact in weeks, not months, but also bring some of that high level strategy that's going to make sure we're focusing on the areas that are going to make the biggest impact on your business.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Somebody from our viewers can put Ryan's LinkedIn handle on the comments. That would be super nice. If somebody could do that, I'd really, really appreciate it. Ryan, this was so interesting. 40 minutes kind of went by so quickly. Maybe we should do this again and focus on a couple of other things. I'm going to leave you with the last 3 minutes of this podcast to share with everybody your thoughts about AI and any other thing you would like to share.
Yeah, great. Well, what I'll do is I'll show maybe just another example or two. I think tangible examples can be really helpful for people and take away and have something that you might want to work on next. So let me pull my screen up here and I'll pull up some stuff around Clay.com, that tool that I mentioned that can be really powerful on the sales side of things. Um, so Clay, really what Clay does, Clay can help you with all of the work that traditionally SDRs might do. So I'll show you their diagram that they have, but anything from building lead lists, enriching their data with tons of different data providers, um, through to really customizing your outreach is a great thing to use Clay for. And Clay, there are a lot of software out there that has sales data that you can pull in. Clay has access to about 100 of those providers. But I think what makes Clay really interesting is they have really strong AI research agent capabilities. So what you're looking at here, I mentioned I work with a lot of agencies. This is just a list of potential agency leads where I put in the domain and everything else is getting populated in Clay. And I think where this stuff gets really, really cool is if you see this little guy with the hat here, this is Clay's AI web agent that is going and researching the information that is most important to me that would dictate how I would communicate with this company and how I could potentially help them. So in this case, I have this agent. I've just given it instructions. Go to the website and tell me if this company offers creative services, and then tell me exactly what those are called. And it says yes or no. If the answer is yes here, great. I know to send them my creative case study. That will be really impactful. You can do all kinds of things like that. That's one small example. Another one for me is, do they have a senior tech leader? Do they have a CTO? Or do they not have a tech leader in the organization? So in this example, I have it going to the company, doing some search on Google to determine who the most senior technical person is at that company. And then it can return back to me, is there a VP or C-level tech person? And who is the most senior tech person that you found? Because I'm going to talk really differently to a company that has a CTO or a CIO than a company that doesn't have internal engineering resources. So I figured I'd share this little demo because this tool is super powerful for sales workflows and condensing what could be hours of research into a couple of minutes to create much more hard-hitting and valuable messaging and lead prioritization.
Love it. Ryan, thank you. I love what you guys are doing. Everybody, please reach out to Ryan. Please go to getmelior.com. It's right on the screen right now. Let me see if I can. I'll make sure that your LinkedIn is in the comments, and everybody reach out to Ryan. There's so much to learn, so much to grow. Your professional services company, Ryan and the company can help you grow faster, save money, go through all these things. And as you can see, Ryan really knows what he's talking about. So please, everybody, reach out to Ryan. Ryan, this went super fast. one of the fastest 45 minutes. I would love to invite you here again. And thank you so much for your wisdom, for sharing. And it's so nice to see somebody. Here's your, thank you, Brett. Here
Awesome.
is
Thanks, Brett.
your LinkedIn. Everybody can click, follow Ryan. And Ryan, how can our community help you?
Continuing to have these conversations is great. I love talking to people who are interested in AI. I personally get a lot of value out of being helpful. So if you're kicking around an idea, trying to figure out how to do it with AI, I'm happy to help out. So yeah, it's been great to talk through this, and excited to meet more folks in the community.
I introduced you to Ian or Josh.
I think so.
Ian is our chief AI officer and Josh is our CTO. So maybe we'll do a little power, see how we can all help each other. But it's been amazing. I know everybody learned a lot. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on our next LinkedIn Live. Ryan, you're amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.